What's good, YouTube? Antayami here, back with another video, and we are back with White Forest. I almost said Regenesis. White Forest Millennium. Now, I went ahead and perfected the deck a little bit better, and I'll talk about some of the changes that I did and updated. And I wish I would have took this to the regionals prior to the build I had last time. But real quick note, dog, the Switch 2 has been amazing. Unfortunately, the only real game that's out is Mario Kart World, but I've been playing a lot of Mario Kart World, so I've been like lacking on the Yu-Gi-Oh focus stuff. So I will be building more decks like Orcus and things of that in the nature. But for right now, I kind of focused on building this deck a lot better. And as you guys can tell, there's a lot of things going on in this deck list, right? Like I said, it's been giving me a lot of success, and it's been doing really good. On top of that, I'll give you guys maybe like 2 or 3 test hands to give you guys some like theory and show you how to play with the deck and how to optimize it as best as possible. So without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about it, right? So we're gonna go ahead and talk about the non-engine here, because the non-engine is the easiest, like, you know, these are all on flex spots. So we have 15 in here and 45, which is like not horrible, but is doable. And a lot of these are like floodgatey hand traps, right? So like 9 of these hand traps allows you to kind of like stun your opponent a little bit and put them on like normally half boards, and then you use the rest of your engine to kind of like push through. Ash Blossoms, I found that it was like a lot better to go first with it to stop Charmies, and also on top of your end board, it can also add additional interruptions and stuff like that, so it's really good. And in some cases, Ash Blossom like versus like Mizurugi, or let's say if you stop like the dual drive, or sometimes if your opponent hands are weak enough, the Ash Blossom on top of like any of these cards can just double up as like almost a turn skip in a way. So I think there's nothing really to be said about these hand traps. I think these are like the strongest ones that you can play. Charmies are not that bad to draw because you are playing the Millennium package, and you also play Black Witch and Deception and stuff like that, so there's ways to turn these dead hand traps into like playable. And then of course Droll is just insane. And Black Goat's Laugh, I finally fit 3 in here, and it's been working wonders. It's been really good. So that's really strong in this. As far as the White Forest package, I settled on this. I didn't want to play multiple of these cards because you don't want to see this card going second like at all. And in the very rare instance that you hit it off a zombie vampire, it's really strong. But the main card you definitely want to hit is like Sylvie. This is still like obviously really strong, but Sylvie is like a lot better because it helps you play around Nib when you go into the zombie vampire. Because zombie vampire typically in your combo is summon number 4. Summon number 5 is Sylvie. And then if you really think your opponent has Nib, you can, instead of adding Tails, which I typically do if I want to go through the Simple Spoils package, or I guess the Azamina package, you could add Fill Spell and then immediately go into the Fiendsmith line, and then go into Fill Spell, set up the 2 Della Bell Stars, and you're off to the races. So there's these ways that you could play around certain things, and it depends on your hand, right? Because if you start with like Ezet in your hand, you can go for the more riskier Tails and then go from there, right? So it just depends on how your hand is, which is really cool about this deck. This deck is very free flowy, very situational in every single hand. So therefore I won't be doing any type of like spreadsheeting and stuff like that, like no like 1-card combos, because I mean White Forest has been played enough. You should know what to do unless you're super new with the deck. Of course we're still playing the Dilla Bell's package. You got the Dilla Bell Star here with the Wantis, 1 Fill Spell. Again, we're using the Fill Spell more as an extender than it is a starter, because it also cuts off your zombie vampire. So if you start with this over the Millennium package, let's say like you start with this and then you draw, like say you want to draw into like these don't really do much on their own now. So besides add more bodies. So I'm using this as like an extender off like the Sylvie or, you know, things of that nature. So that's what I'm using it for. Then as you can tell here from the traps, I'm playing 3 traps. Curse is with the Della Bell's package. Like you have to play these, which is kind of unfortunate, but it is what it is. Then you also have Morian, which I replace the quick play spell card with Morian, And the reason why I'm doing this is because in some situations you can end on both traps, which is really, really strong. Morian is also a very easy access card to you could set with the this if you draw, depending on what your hand is and stuff like that. It's a great mill off a zombie vampire, and it's another trap for vengeance, which is really, really strong. But in some scenarios, there's combos where I went with this and then I went hollowed to send this to the graveyard, and I'm like, sometimes it's not very like worth it to always do that, so I use this card instead because it can reset itself back. So you're getting the same amount of benefits of resolving this card, and then you still get another interruption, even though it's a Book of Moon and it can be like 50-50 on how great it is, but it's very versatile because you can use it on your own cards, which is really, really good. And in some scenarios, it could be the card that gives you that extra interruption to win you the game. So it's really strong. I think Betrayal is still insane. I still play this more often than not over this, but in some scenarios, you can end on both, or you can end on one or the other, depending on the situation. So it's really good. I think the rest of these are pretty self-explanatory outside of the Millennium Engine. And I also think that the like the Fiend's package is one-on-one with the Millennium package. You have to play this and this at the same time to help you maximize Thur Droll and things of that nature. So I often find myself making a ton of bodies, and then you make the engraver as like the or the Fiend's engine as more like a follow-up type like position, and blah blah blah, right? But you guys would definitely understand why this is important. And you'll think like, oh no, engraver is a brick. Engraver is a brick, right? There are some, I guess, some theory or some like, I guess, talk about to play like Sync, but I think Sync sucks. Yes, it can play you through Droll and stuff like that, but it's like, I don't really like it, especially going second. It's not that crazy. And then I also thought about playing the trap, right? You can even side deck the trap. Like, say for example, you can cut out like the cross out and then side in like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then this could be like the trap card, and then replace these 6. But the issue with that is that I like the trap with Caesar. If you're playing High King Caesar, then I think it's worth it. And then on top of that, you have to play Necroquip, and I don't really have extra deck space for all that. You could probably cut like SP Little Knight, and I don't know what else to cut, but maybe like Agman Day, since you're going for the Caesar line. But I think Agman Day is like insane. It won me so many games, and it makes your inboard a lot stronger when you go for the Desiree. It's like, I can't cut that card. It saved me in so many different duels. The fact that it pierces, it makes my monsters really big. Like, no, even when I resolve an SP Little Knight effect, I can still win games by just piercing the crap out of my opponent and winning the game, which came up a lot. So reason why I did the way I did it. And of course, kind of like jumping into the extra deck here. I play no Chaos Angel. I feel like that card has never been missed in my deck list. Again, you could probably replace SP Little Knight for Chaos Angel if that's what you want to do. But I think SP Little Knight comes up a little bit more, especially for going first to play around like Nib in some scenarios, because you can actually go like SP Little Knight, summoning these 2. And then when your opponent goes Nib, you go SP Little Knight, banishing these 2, and then it'll just come back on end phase. And then you go Vengeance effect to pop the Nib, and then, summon this, and it's just like really, really strong, right? So yeah. But yeah, I think that's a good, like, a bit of overview of what the deck can really do. I think a lot of this stuff is like very self-explanatory. Again, side deck is side deck. I like to put in 6 going first cards because I got 6 cards that I want to take out for going first. And then Lightning Storm and Harpies is kind of like whatever. I do like this card, and there's arguments that this card can be like another Lightning Storm, but I just like having a searchable like board breaker, and that works really well with your engine. And it's like a very unique disruption that it's like honestly pretty good in the meta. Putting monsters in the spell and trap zone versus like Regenesis or like the Cash-Tier cards, or even like something like, I don't know, the Mizurukis or the Malice decks. It's just really hard for those decks to get those cards back. So I like this a lot. So like these 3 cards could technically be like a little bit of a flex, but I do recommend these cards for going first, or these 12 cards for the side deck, at least for my testing. All right, so without further ado, let's go ahead and hop into some test hands here. and we'll go from there. So we're gonna go ahead and go into solo mode here, and we're gonna hop into some test hands. This is not my deck. I forgot to default my other deck, so we're gonna go here, boom, boom, and then boom. All right, so let's see how we can optimize all of this. I would say maybe the first 2 test hands, I'll try to play without fear of hand traps, just to kind of like maximize the board. I'll still like obviously be wary of like Droll and Nib, but we won't actually get hit by those cards. We'll just respect it, right? So, and then maybe the third test hand, I'll play through a Droll or something to show you how that works. Oh, also, I forgot to mention this, that the reason why I'm playing triple Wedge Temples is because it helps you get to Zombie Vampire while getting Drolled. Where if you start with the Sing Engine or the Golem, you get hit with Droll, you can't have access to the Zombie Vampire. And then Zombie Vampires technically equals seeing more engine, also gives you Fingsmith Engine by itself. So that's why we're doing that. I forgot to mention that, so my bad. But anyway, so we have this starting hand, and typically I like to start with the Temple because it's like the hardest card to interact with. I'm going to use Temple to scale the Droll and Lockbird, and then here we're going to scale the Sing Engine. Then we're going to activate the effect of Sing Engine. We're going to pay 2,000 life points, and then we're going to move it, and then we're going to immediately resolve the search, which is going to search out our... you can either go Golem or you can go for another Sing Engine here. Typically, I think it's a little bit more optimal to go for a Sing Engine here, because if you hard draw either another fill spell, or if you hard draw Golem, you have access to like more resources, where this card definitely does nothing because it doesn't search any more monsters, since we're only playing 3 Millennium packages or 3 Millennium monsters. So then we're going to activate the effect to scale the Sing Engine here. And the good thing about starting with the fill spell, you don't have to pay 4,000 life points if that's a fear of yours. So you could always pay just only 2,000 for the Zombie Vampire now. Then you'll summon out the Snake Eyes Doom Dragon. Then we're going to overlay. Go into Zombie Vampire. We're going to activate the effect of Zombie Vampire, detaching the Sing Engine. We're going to mill 4. And we didn't hit anything super crazy here, so pretty like mid mill, literally all spells, but that's okay. And we also technically mill the hollowed, so the deception here is not going to really get us anything super crazy here, but we're going to go ahead and go into a normal summon Stellar. We're going to send the fill spell, and then of course the Stellar is really broken when it resolves, so we're going to go ahead and activate the effect. And we're gonna go for our since fill spell is milled, we're gonna go ahead and go into our hollowed, or sorry, our tails. We're gonna synchro 6, and we're gonna synchro into Rusia. We're gonna activate the effect of Rusia, and did I say Rusia? I meant to say Arciella, sorry. Then we're going to activate the effect. We're not going to trigger a Stellar here. We're going to hold it. So we're going to declare this after we resolve our Arciella, which is going to add our Azet Azamina. This is going to reset itself now. And again, we're not going to trigger a Stellar here. We're going to hold it. Then immediately we're going to activate this. And this is going to search out our Azet Azam, or sorry, just the Reser Azet of the White Forest. Then we're going to activate the effect of Azamina Azet. Then we're going to Synchro 8. Synchro 8 into this. So we're going to Chainlink 1 Azamina Azet. Chainlink 2 Queen. And then, fun fact, we can actually add back our Hollowed here if we like. And I think in this position, we will do that. Because the great thing about Zombie Vampire plus Delibels, that even though you may not hit any monsters, you can still hit spells. And we could technically like search spells in a very indirect way, which is really cool. So now we have Hollowed and we have Deception now. Deception is dead because, you know, this is in the graveyard, which is completely fine. But even then, we can still do something like activate the effect of Azet sending this, and then use the effect of Hollow and stuff like that, but we're not going to get into all that. So we're going to go ahead and activate this just to have it on the board, and then we're going to go into Azet to send this to the graveyard, and then special summon. That is going to allow us to actually, even before we even do that, better line here, honestly. I'll put this back. Let's just start with the hollowed. Like that didn't make any sense. So we're gonna go actually send the betrayal trap here. Then we're gonna special summon Arcielago, and then we're gonna do our chain links, which is just chain link 1 here. This is gonna search out our wanted, so we get like that into rotation. Then next we're gonna activate, as soon as this move, we're gonna activate hollowed to add this back to our hand by shuffling back the Azumina Azet, shuffling that back into the deck. Then we can definitely do Sylvie here if we like. We can go Sylvie, declare, do this, or we can go hollowed, which is probably a little bit better and a lot safer. Do this chain, and we're gonna add our Black Witch. Then that's gonna go to the grave after res, and then go into the Sylvia here. Then after that, now we can go Sylvia effect. So we're gonna go ahead and activate the effect, special summoning this to shuffle this back into the deck. And then we're going to go into our Fiendsmith line, which is amazing. So Moon, then Requiem into Lacrima. Lacrima is gonna dump our Engraver here. And then what's really cool, we can go Requiem effect to attach to, not attach, but spell and trap to the Lacrima. And then now we can go Azet if we like. So we're gonna definitely do that. So we're gonna go Azet, sending this, and special summon. Just to remember, we don't get a stellar when we send cards like Requiem to the grave, because it is a monster card, not a spell or trap. So that will never revive itself back because of that. I'm not saying that because we have space here or anything like that, because we don't. But in retrospect, you can't summon it off of like Azet sending Requiem because it is a monster card. This is going to search out our Delibels, which is really, really good. And then since we're not using this as like, you know, single material, we can technically just turn these two into our sequence. And as you can tell, we got so many cards in the graveyard here. And we can still technically activate Wanted here to shuffle this back for like Black Witch, because I do like Slumber in this particular version of the deck, but this is still the superior trap in my personal opinion in most cases. So we're gonna go ahead and continue with our play here. Our goal whenever we go Fiendsmith is always leaving the Lacrima in the graveyard. So that's really, really strong, because that gives us a little bit of follow-up. Excuse me, a little bit of follow-up and a little bit more resilience to the Fiendsmith stuff. And I'll showcase that in a second, how Lacrima is going to come up in this particular situation with the SP Little Knight. So we're going to go ahead and take these, and we're going to turn this to the Agmende. Now, in this particular situation, since we have like just a free body sitting here, sometimes you can use Delibel's the White Witch as a free body if you like. And instead of going for the Engraver, we're gonna go, or sorry, not Engraver, going into like Agmende to bring back the Desiree. We're gonna just go into an SP Little Knight. And then why I like SP Little Knight over Chaos Angel is this particular situation. When you resolve Zombie Vampire, your opponent has 4 cards in the grave. Not only that you can see what deck they're playing, you can actually banish their resources. This comes up a lot, especially versus decks where they play like random one-ofs that need to be resolved, or, you know, whatever. And then if it's like material in the graveyard, you can use SP Little Knight to just banish it out the graveyard. So like, say for example, I remember I went against like a Blue Eyes deck, right? Just a very weird example. And I milled their True Light. Well, cool. Then I went SP Little Knight, banished their True Light, and now they don't have access to True Light at all, because Maiden can only bring out the True Light if it's in the hand, deck, or grave, but not banish. So that's just like a random example of that. That's like really, really good. So we're going to use the effect, banish something random in your opponent's graveyard, which is really, really strong. And then now we have Lockman bringing back Agman Day on your opponent's turn, and we're still cooking. Now, the reason why we save the Esteller, because Esteller in this position can also treat as itself as an extra body. Esteller is not going to get a lot of value in this particular situation, but you can go like the Labelle, send the Deception, and then that can trigger your Esteller to help you facilitate extra bodies and playing through like hand traps and stuff like that. So that's like always on the table. So I think in this particular situation, we're going to go into the Labelle's effect here, and then we're going to go into our Vengeance here. Since we already milled our Phila, then we don't want to go Curse, because Curse won't get an effect here. But we do have some traps in the graveyard that we could definitely use. So now we're going to go effect of Vengeance, banishing 1, and then we're going to banish the spell. So we're going to just banish this if you like, and then bring out the Vengeance. Then after that, we can go Wanted effect. And then we can shuffle this back. We're going to draw a card. And then we can use Black Witch, sending this. And then we're going to set up our Betrayal. Then on top of that, we will have Black Lotus Engrave. This is going to show back up in Instep. And then we still have like Desiree on top of this end board right here. So this is a very, very hard board to crack. Not only is it a hard board to crack, you have follow-up, and you just have infinite everything. Like you have protection with Fizz, a negate with Fizz, 2 extra deck monsters summoning from these 2 effects. You also have a pop. You have SP Little Knight. You have Betrayal. Deception here is for this if you need to, you know, whatever. Or if you get into your Desiree effect, uses effect, then you can use this to send Agman Day. It's just so much stuff you can do in this position. You just have infinite resources here. So yep, that's it. So since that was very long, I'm gonna go ahead and showcase a test hand with Droll, and we'll end the video off that because I don't want to make this video super long. So let's go ahead and restart this, and then I'll show you a test hand through Droll. If you just get automatically cooked through Droll, then I'll do another test hand. But I kind of want to showcase just opening the Waju Temple, which is what we did here, which is fan-freaking-tastic. So, goal here, play through Droll. Now, the sequence this, because whenever I play the game, I always see if they have the Droll, so you do Droll checks, right? So you want to add the card to your hand that's going to give you the most value. And then after that, if they don't Droll you, then you can go crazy, right? So typically here, sometimes I start with Wanted if that's like my main way of searching, because I do want to have access to Hollowed. That's the card I like to have, because if I do get hit with Droll, you can still set up the Sylvia. And if you have Charmies and stuff in your hand, you don't set back the Deception. You keep Deception in the graveyard. And then when you go Sylvia effect, you can chain the Mold Charmies because you control no cards. So that's a great way to use the Charmies to help you survive, I suppose. But in this particular situation, since we have Waiju Temple or Weju Temple or whatever is how it's pronounced, we're going to go ahead and use that as our first action. Once we search with the Sengenjin, then if they hit us with Droll, then we go chain Wanted and set up either the trap cards that you want to set up and go from there. But since we start with Weju Temple, you're going to get all that and Zombie Vampire, which is really, really strong. So let's go ahead and start with this, right? So we're going to activate the effect, and we are going to actually just scale the Golem. Then we're going to use Golem, or sorry, the field spell to go into this. And we haven't searched yet, and now we have access to 3 spells, which is really good. So you see how like these cards get infinite amount of resources and value based off of this. Your opponent cannot interact with this card unless they have Ogre, and Ogre is not in the format. So it's very strong to start with this in a lot of cases, because it plays around a lot more hand traps than if you start with like Sanguine, because you can lose the Ash, you can lose to Impulse and stuff like that. So if you go now, activate the effect, let's say we didn't get hit with Droll or anything, if they go Ash here, Impulse, then these cards become infinitely better. So that's just what it is, right? So we're gonna go ahead and pay 6,000 life points, or sorry, 2,000, and then we're gonna summon Sanguine. Sanguine can search itself for some reason, which is insane to me, but glad he does. And then let's get hit with a Droll here. So we got hit with Droll. I'm just gonna type it here. Sorry. Hits here. So we get Drolled here, right? So when we get Drolled here, we're gonna go ahead and chain our wanted poster, and then this is gonna search as our Black Witch. Good. Then we're gonna activate the effect of Sanguine in the hand because we haven't done that yet. And then now we're gonna go ahead and go into our Doom Dragon. This is summon number 2. Overlay Zombie Vampire, which is gonna be summon number 3. And let's see if we can hit something extra. Zombie Vampire is definitely one of those cards that it's more like a bait into anything else. But if it resolve, it's just like icing on the cake. It's just more materials that you can work with. So we're gonna go ahead and mill 4, and we also just mill bad again, which sometimes that does happen, but it is what it is. So then now we're gonna go ahead and summon our Droll and Lockbird, which is gonna be summon number 4. And then from here, we can literally go into the Fiendsmith combo. So then now we're gonna go boom, go into Requiem effect, put them on, have another hand trap here, because if they go Ash, you know, they can hit you with that. But see, the thing is, if they Ash your Zombie Vampire, you can literally like normal summon, because none of this requires a normal summon. We can actually go normal summon like a hand trap, like a Charmy or something, right, to go into the Fiendsmith engine, and then you put them on, have a third hand trap, because if they hit you with Ash on the Zombie Vampire, then they can't Ash your Requiem. So you're gonna pretty much resolve the Fiendsmith package. The only way that they can really stop you is now a Bestial or Nib, but yeah, that's like what it is, right? Oh, I guess Emperor and Veiler on the sequence in that position, but a lot of the times they're hand trapping Zombie Vampire because Zombie Vampire can hit really crazy, and that's really risky, right? But you can gamble on that if you will. But a lot of the times they do like hand trap the Zombie Vampire at the very minimum. So yeah, so now we're going to the Lakama, and then Lakama is dumping the Engraver here. Then we can go into Requiem effect, and then again we still have our normal summon here, which is really, really good. We're gonna go Black Witch. Black Witch is gonna summon itself out, and then we're gonna go into the Betrayal. Now you can go Betrayal here if you don't want to commit your normal summon, which we could if we like. But if you want to like use these two as bodies, you can actually go into, this is why I like the option here, because now you can go into this and you can actually link these two off for the full Fiendsmith package. And the reason why we would like to link this off, because it gives us like Lakama Graveyard effect to revive back any of your Fiendsmith links to keep the Fiendsmith package going. Because typically when you go sequence, you kind of shuffle back all your the Fiendsmith follow-up. So not using the Engraver effect is really, really, really good here. And also this helps you play around Nib a little bit better too, because like say for example, let's say like your opponent has Nib, they just didn't Nib you here for some god reason. You can go into the sequence, and if let's say they Nib you on the sequence, then you just go Engraver, shuffle back the sequence, and then just remake the sequence with Engraver plus token. So if you go this, like say for example 1, 2, and 3, this is probably the best Nib spot here. So you can Nib this, which is very, very optimal here. And you won't have anything here. You can use Desiree effect to send back, but then you still have like the White Forest, saying White Forest, the Fiendsmith follow up here, which is really, really strong. And yeah, but again, we still have like a normal summon here, and I think in this particular situation, I would go for the I have to call it the double Desiree setup. So we're gonna go ahead and rewind this, just showing you guys some more options and stuff like that. Summon these back. And sometimes the follow-up is not very important because your opponent already like hand looped himself for 1 for the most part here. I mean, obviously you're going to have a weaker board, but this is like fine, right? You're still playing through it very well. So yeah, let's put the graveyard or the Fiend's stuff back. Boom. And then Black Witch is going to set the Betrayal because I just like Betrayal. From this particular situation, especially since if you're still trying to play around Nib, you can actually go normal summon a Stellar here. A Stellar effect, sending the fill spell, because that's not going to have any value anymore. We can go into this. And again, if you get nibbed here, you still have Engraver effect engrave, so you're still technically fine through nib here. And then now you have a Stellar engrave, and then you also have the Sylvia engrave, so now you can synchro 6 into this. And now you have like a little bit of White Forest follow up here. Again, we're under Droll, so we can't really do much with this. And I wish we could still technically discard, because that would be so sick if you can like use the effect to discard for cost, but then not actually search. Then you can revive a Stellar, and Stellar can get you into your Della Bells. But it's also fine too. Another cool thing you can do here, which can still technically gets us into like the Della Bells here. Obviously, it won't get the effect to add a spell back from your graveyard, but that's fine. So now we can actually go into these two and then synchro into Queen. So that's also convenient too. Then after that, we can go into effect of Engraver. This plays way more into Nib, but that's just like, you know, if you want to play into it like this. Then we can go into this, go sequence effect to shuffle back 1, 2, and 3. Then we're going to go into our Desiree. Then we're going to link off into Agmende. And then we're going to go Agmende effect to move this back to the bottom, special summoning our Desiree here. And then we're going to activate the effective sequence. And we end off on this. And what's funny is that our zombie vampire basically gave us nothing to work with this. And we still ended on Queen, Fiendsmith Desiree, and Black Witch with the Betrayal. And we have a little bit of White Forest follow up here. And we still have Ezet as well as follow up. And whenever we Betrayal something, then we'll get like a draw for turn and then another draw for Wanted, which is really, really good. We didn't mill any Black Goats Laugh in this situation, so it is what it is. Sometimes you can mill like Vengeance plus Trap, and then you can go summon Vengeance, and you can have Vengeance on this end board, which is also really cracked. So it's very good. Like I definitely like it. I think it's a lot stronger than Pure at the moment, but I guess that's going to be up to you guys to think about that. The sequencing in this deck is very difficult, but once you get the sequencing down and figure out how you want to do what you want to do in your deck, then yeah, you can go off and go crazy here. But this is still pretty good under Droll, so, you know, and our zombie vampire didn't give us like anything crazy, but it is what it is, right? All right, guys, but that's going to be it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.